Okay, well, good morning and welcome to everyone here on this morning's Quest New Brunswick webinar called Energize Bridgewater Toward Local Energy Resilience. My name is Christy Arsenault and I'm with the New Brunswick Caucus for Quest, and I'm going to be giving a brief overview of what Quest is, and then we'll be handing the presentation over to Leon de Vreede to let us know what's going on in Bridgewater. So just a little bit of housekeeping before we get going. There is all the participants are muted and it'll remain that way throughout the webinar, but there is a chat box on the control panel. You should be able to see that on the lower right-hand side of your control panel. And there may be an opportunity for raising hands partway through the presentation as well. So if you've got any questions, just send a message through the chat and we'll be keeping an eye on that throughout the webinar. So who is Quest? It's a national network of over 10,000 individuals and organizations involved in smart energy communities. It involves 8 provincial and regional caucuses across the country, and New Brunswick having one. And I understand that there are some participants from Nova Scotia on the line today as well, and Nova Scotia also has a caucus. It includes all levels of government, utilities, energy service providers, building landowners and operators, clean technology companies, and also just interested individuals in individuals who are interested in smart energy communities. Communities account for 60% of energy consumption and over 50% of greenhouse gas emissions. So with all of the attention and importance on climate and greenhouse gas emissions, particularly now with the Paris Agreement and what the federal government is doing and what the provincial governments are doing to meet the various commitments, everybody has a role to play. It's not just transportation or just residential. Everybody has a little bit to play in the smart energy use. So smart energy communities take advantage of energy efficiency. They look at conventional energy networks and also look at local energy opportunities, building on the strengths of their geography and their people and building on their strengths. And also smart energy communities focus on land use planning because poor land use decisions result in energy waste over the long term. So across the country, there are over 200 communities who have a community energy plan and who are considered smart energy communities. On this map, New Brunswick doesn't feature very prominently. It was produced in 2015, but since this map was generated, there actually has been a big uptake in New Brunswick in the Federation of Canadian Municipalities Partners for Climate Protection program. And the next time this map is generated, we expect to see a change in New Brunswick. So in the Quest caucus here in New Brunswick does a number of things, including webinars such as this. We hosted a series of workshops this fall on community energy planning. There is a primer on community energy planning that was produced, which is bilingual and is freely available to anyone who is interested. We produce reports and also comment on provincial initiatives which may impact where smart energy communities could come into play. So that's a screenshot of the primer that was produced for community energy planning in the province. This is also a picture of from the Federation of Canadian Municipalities and the location of the municipalities who have signed on to the Partners for Climate Protection Plan. They're throughout the province. They're at various stages of implementation, meeting the various milestones. And to date, only Bathurst and Fredericton have reached all 5 milestones. So that map earlier, that pan-Canadian map showing New Brunswick not being very prominent yet, this demonstrates the interest in greenhouse gas emissions, climate change, and community energy planning. And it's not just about climate change. There's also an economic component to this where we spend a lot of money on energy. And if there's a better way to do it, London has demonstrated that that money can be kept, London, Ontario, has that some of that money can be kept locally. So their estimate is that for every 1% reduction in energy use by London residents and businesses, so it touches both sectors, they estimate it prevents about 14 million from leaving the local economy. So obviously the scale here in New Brunswick and in the Maritimes is different than that, but can still have a big impact at the local level. So that's a brief overview on Quest and Quest New Brunswick. And I want to thank you again for joining us on this webinar. And now I will be handing over control to Leon, and he will walk us through what is happening in Bridgewater.
Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you. You're a little bit muted, Leon, but I can hear you.
Okay, let me try to increase my volume slightly. Could I just do I don't know if people are able to raise their hands, but could people try raising their hands if they can hear me?
I see hands being raised.
And can you please raise your hand now? So Christy, if you could turn them off. If you could please raise your hand if you can't hear me properly.
I see one person with their hand raised.
Okay, so I'm not quite sure what to do about that. I seem to be maxing out my volume already. So I think this is as good as it's going to get, unfortunately.
Okay.
Okay. So hello, everyone. Thank you for taking the time to attend this webinar today, and a very big thank you to Quest New Brunswick, Christy and Eddie Oldfield and your colleagues. It's a real honor to be offered a chance to present something that we're doing here in Bridgewater, Nova Scotia, and to be being able to offer something from a smart energy community perspective. I think that's a great honor, and at the same time we have a long way to go, so I'm under no pretense that we're already there. Just before I get into my presentation, I just want to apologize. I'm having a cold right now, so if I sound a little croaky and if I need to take a break to have some water, my apologies for that in advance. And that combined possibly with the volume being a little low or breaks in the audio, I do apologize if you have a hard time hearing me. And a little shout out to folks from Bridgewater and area. I know we have a few participants on the line that are folks from my neck of the woods, so hello, and thank you for participating as well. So the name of my presentation is Toward Local Energy Resilience, and it's about a program that the town of Bridgewater has initiated together with a number of local partners, Energize Bridgewater, and I had the pleasure of doing a very quick presentation on this in New Brunswick, in Sussex, New Brunswick, just over a month ago, and in two different places in association with Quest New Brunswick, and there was some strong interest in that, so I've been offered a chance to continue speaking with folks about this. So Bridgewater is as a kind of a medium-sized town in Nova Scotia on the South Shore, close to Mahone Bay and Lunenburg, home of the Blue Nose. And we are one of the few towns in Nova Scotia that is growing, still growing year by year, and has quite a thriving commercial, retail, and industrial hub, and as such is a community with quite a diverse local economy. We have been doing sustainability work for the last 8 years, and I guess I should introduce myself as well. So I work as the sustainability planner for the town. I've been here since 2009, 2008 when I started working on the Integrated Community Sustainability Plan, and I have been working here on those initiatives ever since. So in talking about the topic of energy, I've been having great pleasure going through the archives and looking at some of our historical relationship with energy as a community. And this screenshot here is of one of the hydro dams that used to power our community. And we had our own electric utility until the early 1970s when we sold it off. But before that point, there were a number of decades where Bridgewater was actually completely self-sufficient from an energy perspective. We were producing all of our own electricity, and a significant amount of our energy came from wood and other biomass sources in the area, and of course we brought in coal and oil as more distant sources. But it is fascinating to think that we were completely self-sufficient from an electrical perspective. The rapid electrification of our grid, was made possible due to these local resources. And then what happened was that our demand for energy so rapidly outstripped our ability to supply it locally that by the 1970s, the utility was only providing about 10% of our total electricity needs. And because it didn't make sense to keep up the infrastructure, it was sold off to Nova Scotia Power. So the way I would like to view this energy program that we're doing is we're actually looking to reclaim some of our historical relationship with energy, but of course in a new way and in a way that takes into account the modern economy and modern environmental and social opportunities as well. So it's no surprise why we are here today and why our community, along with many others, is talking about energy. From a global perspective, we are without a doubt in a situation of crisis as a world. We have declining energy sources; those are our fossil reserves, and meanwhile we are having increased energy consumption. Still, year by year, that's starting to peak in places, but as a global society, this trend is very, very unsustainable. So, what are we doing about that? We've crafted a fairly ambitious initiative to work with our entire community to stimulate what we're calling the local energy economy. So this program is about defining what that means to have a local energy economy, how that relates to our global energy and emissions targets, and also to explore very practical means by which that can actually benefit the community. So this is as much an economic and a social exploration of energy as it is a sort of just in a pure energy or environmental perspective. So that 360-degree view of energy is key to what we're doing here. The end product of our work, other than seeking to stimulate a lot of activity on the local level, is a key document called the Community Energy Investment Plan, which many communities will recognize just kind of as an energy plan. But what makes this unique is that it will actually be a fully costed plan that includes economic measures and investment strategies to achieve our energy targets by 2050. So this is one of the things that makes our planning program and our engagement program unique. So if we look at the scale of the transition that we're talking about, it's actually quite enormous. We're talking about basically moving from a fossil-fueled economy. In Bridgewater, 70 to 80% of our community's energy needs are still generally from fossil sources, whether they're from fuels imported to the community or from non-renewable sources for our electrical supply. And we're basically talking about transitioning those over to local and regional sources that can be sourced locally. And when we do that, we're mainly talking about renewable energy sources. So this is really the challenge that we're talking about. what makes this such an overwhelming discussion is that if we believe the climate science and if we believe what needs to be done in order to have a sustainable future, we're really talking about a shift to this in one generation, which we're calling a 34-year transition. So the idea behind Energize Bridgewater is not necessarily to debate the global science. It's to take those goals for 2050 as our starting point, and then saying, well, how can we make that practical on the local level? So in thinking about whether this is even possible, a shift of this magnitude, we've reviewed quite a few examples of communities that are achieving this, and I have a few here that are just popping up on your screen. But there's quite a large number of examples of communities that have successfully made the transition to renewable energy, sourcing that locally, working very aggressively on efficiency initiatives, and have actually done quite well with that from an economic and social perspective as well. The Transition Network in the United Kingdom is quite an inspirational group that has a global map talking about communities that are doing this work in a very creative and innovative ways. And you can find many examples there of communities that are doing this type of work, and here's a screenshot. There's a video that was released by, I believe it was The Economist magazine, talking about Wilpolsried in southern Germany that actually is producing over 500% of its energy demand by doing things like, as you can see, the strong deployment of solar as well as bio and wind resources directly in its own community. So very inspiring stories out there that I think we can aspire to within the time frame that we're talking about. And as I mentioned, there's a number of ways, catalogs out there for communities that are doing this inspiring work. I personally really like Transition Network. They have a really positive and community-oriented view to what can happen. And this map just shows an example of the kinds of initiatives that they're tracking. In addition, moving forward, there are a number of partnerships that have been formed globally for municipalities and communities working on 100% renewable energy plans. And this is just a sampling of the kinds of communities that are doing this type of work. And there's a website there at the bottom where you can see more. Canada already has a number of cities that have committed to these types of targets. So just briefly, in doing our own review of the kinds of benefits of moving to a local energy economy, and I don't want to reinvent the wheel here, Quest has done a lot of great work in documenting these things, but there's obviously direct energy benefits from not being able to replace imported energy with locally generated energy, being able to export energy when we produce more than what we need. And the whole carbon economy is, of course, coming very quickly, and that means that you can be saving those carbon costs by switching to renewables. There's also many economic benefits that are broader for the community, including developing local skills and opportunities for new local businesses to take part in that clean energy economy. Local ownership of energy resources keeps those dollars circulating in the community, and the ability to simply be more creative and adaptive to change and finding more cost-effective use of local resources. From a social perspective, energy is typically tied to increasing energy security for the community. Affordability is a major goal and a big part of why we are doing energy work here. We're also talking about an opportunity to renew community assets, and that's a piece that I'm going to show you a little bit of information on how we're framing that asset renewal piece in our own community. And then finally, there's benefits as well from a governance perspective, improving efficiencies in public services, developing new partnerships, and basically just the benefits that come from having a positive and progressive vision for the future, which attracts people to a community and progressive businesses as well. So Quest Canada, as I said, has done a lot of work to document these types of benefits, and they have a wonderful website and guide called, you can find it all on gettingtoimplementation.ca, there's a document they've produced highlighting some of the measured benefits that are in that list there for communities doing this kind of work. So where I guess I'm going to leave you with this kind of this high-level introduction of this question that I think is pertinent for all communities is how do we achieve the practical transition to a local energy economy in just 34 years? The questions that communities can be asking are what is the right solution or combination, frankly, of many solutions for my community? How can we pay for the energy transition? And we've spent a lot of time thinking about that. So that's a key part of this work is how to get over the capital and the investment barrier to deploying renewables and energy efficiencies. How can we build a social movement for change? So how can we get our community engaged? And who do we work with and how do we avoid common mistakes? So where I'm going to go to next is to delve into some of our particular goals and opportunities in our own community. But I just thought I would take a quick break to have a little bit of water and rest my throat. And I just wanted to know if there had been any questions so far on what I've said.
Hi, Leon. I'm not seeing any questions coming through just yet, but if anybody has any, please type them into the chat box and we'll be able to read them off to answer your questions. Also, Leon, with the sound quality, we're getting a bit of feedback. I'm not sure if if you could lower your volume just maybe a notch to see if that takes away some of the feedback.
Okay, thank you for letting me know. So I am actually on a headset, which means that I'm not getting any sound coming through from my speakers. So there's no feedback on my end. I'm not sure what I can do about that. I'm going to check my audio settings.
I see a question. Somebody said it's a sound compression issue. Are there any questions specifically related to Leon's presentation just yet? Okay, the feedback, somebody's more familiar with these systems than I am. There's apparently no great solution in the short term, so we'll just, I can hear you, it's just a bit distracting having that in the background, Leon.
Okay. Thank you for whoever provided that feedback. I'm sorry. There really is no feedback on my end, so it must be the system. So I'm happy to continue if there's no questions right now. We can save them for the end.
Okay, let's carry on.
Okay. So when we're talking about moving to a local energy economy, our council, our community has identified three major goals for us that we are going to be working into this process. One is to focus first by reducing our energy use quite significantly. And then number two, to develop secure sources of renewable energy. And number three, as we do one and two, to focus on keeping energy affordable for everyone. So these are our three main, I guess you could say, guiding principles in the work that we're doing. And they've been articulated both in our community sustainability plan as well as in our climate change action plan. Both documents support very strongly the work that we're doing with Energize Bridgewater. So what I'm going to show you now is kind of a description of how we are presenting the opportunity for our community. And this is something that we're testing out as a kind of a rationale or a value proposition. So I'm very curious to hear what others think about it. But basically today we are consuming energy, quite a bit of energy for our homes and our businesses and our community. And in exchange for that energy, we are sending money out. So we're primarily dependent on energy from elsewhere, and that all represents money leaving our community. Other people also decide the cost, quality, and availability of our energy. So this we consider a relatively unsustainable situation, because if we do nothing, then the future that we're heading towards is one where energy consumption is actually increasing, and also the money leaving our community is actually increasing as well. And in fact, it's increasing faster than the energy import. So this is definitely an unsustainable situation, because we are more and more dependent on these things, and there's less and less money circulating in our own community for use at home.
Leon,
When we compare that with an alternate decision, which is to invest in energy sustainability.
Leon, I'm just going to interrupt for a minute. Would it be possible to take just a 2-minute break and see if you could log off and log back on, because the sound quality has deteriorated? And I'll keep this, I'll bring it back to my screen and give you a chance to see if we can log off and log back on.
Okay, is my sound any different right now?
Oh, now it's perfect.
Amazing. Okay, so I just disconnected my headset, which doesn't make any sense to me, but there you go.
Okay, let's carry on then.
You try to do things right, and then it surprises you. Okay, well, I'm glad. So can we continue?
Yes, let's do that.
Okay, good. And we did test the sound early on, and it wasn't that bad, was it?
No, earlier it was fine, but I can hear you clear as a bell right now.
Okay, so thank you. I will continue now. So the alternate scenario is to invest in energy sustainability and local energy opportunities, which means that what we're doing is we're driving down our imported energy need, which means that we're also driving down the amount of money leaving our community. Now, if we take this all the way to where Wilpolt's Reed and other communities have gone, what we're really talking about also is a potential down the road to export energy from our community, which also means that there is money coming into our community. So then there's a net financial gain for our community in general. It also means that we will be meeting our needs, that we will be determining the quality, price, and benefits of our own energy economy, and that those extra dollars are no longer leaving our community, which means that they're here to circulate. So this is our kind of our concept, our value proposition for our community. And when we map out some of the energy and cost benefits for that, what we see is that if we do a comparison between a non-local energy economy 34 years from now and a local energy economy, is that we have a strong suspicion that we as a community will actually spend more money. Both if you add together the cost of purchasing energy as well as the cost of making the improvements and investing in the energy solutions, we will actually be spending more money after 34 years going down pathway A as opposed to going down pathway B. And this is what our community energy investment plan is going to investigate in quite a bit of detail, and one that we hope will make a very, very compelling argument for the investment proposition. What are some of the other benefits? So if after 34 years we do not invest in new energy technologies and opportunities, we're going to be stuck with outdated technology, which represents a risk and a liability from an asset value perspective, versus an upgraded and modernized assets in community infrastructure and personal equity, which is worth more. It also means that we're looking at the difference between a return on investment, and that breaks down in several ways, versus none. Sorry. And really having an opportunity to have control over global and community benefits versus not. My apologies. In other words, it will cost us less to invest in energy and energy efficiency and renewables than it will to continue to pay others to sell us their energy. I apologize. As I mentioned, I have a cold and it's getting to me. Please hang on a second. Hi, sorry about that. I'm afraid we've moved on from one audio issue to another. My sincere apologies. I hope my voice doesn't actually give out on me on this call. So I'll try to keep it. I'll try to keep it brief. This is an image of our town hall, and those are solar hot water panels. And where we're hoping to take this entire conversation is that by relying on the energy expertise that we've built up as a municipality, we're looking to share that with our community, and also leverage the opportunity for other local partners to share their energy expertise as well. So we are a member of the Partners for Climate Protection program, as Christy mentioned at the beginning. We've achieved milestone 4 for our energy management work and milestone 1 for our community energy work. We've also been recognized for that work, and we have a very aggressive energy management plan in place. These next slides are just a few examples of some of the energy work that we're doing as a municipality. We have a very in-depth energy monitoring program that does detailed tracking of our energy improvements and costs over time, as well as an energy awareness program for our staff and visitors to our facilities. We do regular progress reporting, and our facility managers and also council receives periodic updates on our energy performance. This graph is really kind of the proof is in the pudding slide. So the orange line is our total energy consumption from our municipal operations since 2007-8, and the solid line is our actual performance since we've started doing our energy management work, and our target reduction. It's in part accounted for by us losing 1 or 2 of our facilities. However, every facility also needs to perform at increased standards compared to 2007-2008, and so the hash line is a combination of improved performance and a reduction kind of in the square feet of facilities that we have. So we're making very good progress, and our intention is to continue achieving our goals for energy performance. Here's a really interesting counter slide, though. As you can see, our energy performance has been, our efficiencies have been improving, but at the same time, our cost of energy is still rising. In fact, the last year was the first year that our total energy costs actually dropped, and that's kind of a shocking reality of the rate at which energy rates costs are increasing. So energy rates are rising faster than our ability generally to save it. On the flip side of it, in looking at avoided costs, this chart shows by 2015 that we had saved cumulatively nearly $400,000 from avoided costs by doing our energy management work. So this is a very strong indication that the work definitely pays off. So just back to our Energize Bridgewater program. basically what we're doing is we're looking at taking our learnings and our opportunities that we've explored through our facilities and bringing that knowledge out into the community. So this is part of the rationale for the town of Bridgewater pursuing this work. When we look at what we're trying to achieve, we have quite a set of ambitious outcomes, and we take these very seriously. These are the kinds of principles that we're doing our energy planning work by, and I think what you can see is that it really speaks to achieving excellence in really understanding our energy situation, truly engaging our community in the way forward, and coming up with innovative approaches to looking toward an energy future that's different from our energy past. This table shows just some high-level figures for the kinds of components that are part of our initiative. We are looking at an initiative with a total, I guess, book cash value of about $130,000, and a total, when you add in kind and contributions from all of our partners, we're looking at around a $200,000 project for Energize Bridgewater. I have to acknowledge very gratefully our sponsorship that we've received from the Federation of Canadian Municipalities through the Green Municipal Fund program, which has kicked in approximately half of our cash value for this program. So it wouldn't have been possible without that support. So here's where the rubber kind of hits the road. This is what it's all about. The ambition behind the program is to develop new local investment tools through our community energy investment plan. The numbers that we've done back of envelope math on are daunting. A transition to truly a 100% local energy economy for our community will cost, in terms of capital upgrades at current costs, roughly in the order of about $1 billion. And that seems like a crazy number to talk about, but it's really not that crazy. And the reason it's not that crazy is because that's $30 million per year, while our community already spends on the order of $40 to $70 million per year in energy purchases. So when you look at the difference between the cost of making those transitions, and we're talking about a complete transition, so we're talking about massive housing stock improvements, changes to our transportation systems, changes to our public services to make sure that they operate in kind of a local energy economy framework. There's no question that those are enormous costs, but there's also enormous opportunity in avoided costs of needing to import energy to sustain our community. So we think that from a starting place that the technical feasibility is there to do this work. It's more a matter of finding a way to amortize that massive capital upgrade over a long period of time. And that's what the investment tools are about, because we do see this as an opportunity to invest in the future transition. And frankly, if we don't look with open eyes to these types of numbers, then we are actually avoiding the true depth of the situation that we're talking about with an energy transition. Another important part of our program is to look and work carefully with our community to ensure that the kinds of strategies and things that we put in place to transition to a new energy economy connect with our cultural expectations of what we are as a community, and to use a culturally informed approach that is respectful of people's dreams and values and where they see their place in the world, and to shape an energy economy out of something that truly comes from our community. If you want people to change their behavior, you need to work with people where they're at, and you need to help reduce barriers and work with what motivates people to create change. So we're doing a conscious program within our project of assessing what our community's relationship is with energy and how that might change. Two other initiatives that we've launched in order to sustain the program and build the deep connection with our community is our energy partnership program. This is an opportunity for local businesses and organizations to collectively participate and learn about the process of moving to a local energy economy. Those businesses and organizations meet in a very practical context. We do workshops every 2 months, and those partners are also involved in another part of the program called the Living Energy Laboratory, which is a practical solution incubator that looks for good ideas and good practices in the community and seeks to sustain them and provide resources for them. We're about to launch the first round of our Living Energy Laboratory initiatives, and we have some very exciting ones that we are positioning within that first, I guess, that first cohort of projects. And I'll say more about that in a moment. So all of the advanced planning work that's going on to really try to map out what a future community looks like that is entirely sustained by local energy resources is being done in collaboration with a very important project partner for us, who we've been able to retain for this, which is Sustainability Solutions Group. This is just a quick snapshot from their website. They are a Canadian organization that is really leading the way in helping communities plan their energy transition. And they use a piece of software called City Insight that is a very advanced modeling software that maps out all of the energy flows within a community and then seeks to find the most cost-effective ways to achieve a desired future energy state. They are using currently their software and their team to actually design an 80% energy reduction plan for the City of Toronto as well. So a group that has that much expertise and good ideas is certainly one that we're very, very pleased to work with here in our neck of the woods. Interestingly, I have the same kind of slide here that Christy showed at the beginning. The work allows for the kinds of analysis that the City of London in Ontario has done, where you are able to map out in detail the kinds of energy consumption that your community has, and even the dollars that circulate locally from those different sources. So our intention is to fully tie our energy planning for our community with our with an economic strategy in order to improve, the economy within our community by being able to avoid these very poor returns, I guess, on the community's investment that we're currently experiencing. So just another couple of quick slides here on some of the projects that are coming out of our initiative. So our Living Energy Laboratory is, again, as I said, an opportunity to showcase practical, sustainable energy solutions in our community. We are welcoming project categories in 4 different categories: community-wide projects that benefit everyone, business or organizational initiatives, for example, organizations that demonstrate best practices in improving their energy performance, new ventures, which means people who want to bring new business ideas to the community for exploration in ways that fit in with the new energy economy concept, and personal home improvement or lifestyle changes. So stories of residents and community members who are doing more than their fair share to demonstrate that living sustainably is something that can be done. So just in order to give you a quick sense of the types of projects that are already emerging from our call for Living Energy Laboratory projects, is we have 2 that I just wanted to give you a quick example of. One is that together with a number of other project leaders, the town of Bridgewater has been able to open a non-profit community space right in our downtown. It actually has direct storefront access to our main street. That is called the Community Energy Center. And this is a place where we've been able to host unbiased energy information collected from our community and put together by summer students that we had working on collecting energy data and information. And there's also opportunity for local product suppliers and service providers to provide information about the types of energy-related products and services available in our community. So we've completed a 6-month pilot for this space. We regard it as having been fairly successful. We are now done with that first pilot phase, but hopefully we can extend the Energy Center into the future. So that's something that is just an example of the kind of activity that's been stimulated by our project. The other one that I wanted to point out, because I know that there's quite a bit of interest in this, is our Clean Energy Financing Program. So this past year, the town of Bridgewater worked with 3 other municipalities and an organization in Nova Scotia, a nonprofit called the Clean Foundation, to start offering low-interest home energy improvement loans to community members. We offer up to $15,000 in financing. That is offered at a very low interest rate, 4%. And what makes the program truly unique is that the loans are repaid to the town of Bridgewater through a property assessed mechanism. So basically, it does not count as a personal loan. It counts as a loan against their property, which means that we basically collect the loan from the property back through the same mechanism as taxation. And at the same time, if the homeowner were to sell their property, the loan obligation stays with the property and is transferred to the new owner, as opposed to being stuck with the original owner as a personal loan. So this program has seen dramatic uptake here in our community, as well as in our neighboring communities that have started the same program with us. And we're really seeing this as a fantastic opportunity to demonstrate the opportunities that will come from home energy upgrades and innovative ways to overcome the capital barrier. We've definitely heard from people that they would not have been able to access financing to do the kinds of upgrades that they are now doing through us if this program wasn't available. So we're looking to improve and expand this program in future years. And it's one practical example of a kind of a program that we can do to invest in that energy, that new energy future we want to create, and do so through an innovative investment mechanism. And here is just a quick slide showing the public promotion of our program. And at the bottom there, you can see the kinds of upgrades that we're trying to entice people to install in their homes. By the way, the program is based on having a home energy assessment done. That's a Natural Resources Canada evaluation, or I guess assessment tool, and therefore the savings information that we can calculate for people is very carefully measured. I know I'm running out of time, so I'm just going to keep this slide short. We've definitely seen in our work that we're able to build on a number of successes. Having completed our energy, our climate change plan and our sustainability plan was important in getting all of this work started, as well as our success at acquiring external funding for these initiatives. And we definitely see that the work that we've done in staff capacity building and our own energy management program has really helped us understand how to do this work in the community as well, and has built our reputation for doing good work. Where we go from here is that we are evaluating our financing program, and we'll look at opportunities to expand that early in the new year. We are moving through our Energize Bridgewater program and developing our community energy investment plan. That will be by the fall of 2017. And what we hope to offer other municipalities is a toolkit that will come from that process. So we'll evaluate how we actually did in the process, and we'll make that learning available to other municipalities. In completing that program, we will also be advancing through milestones 2 and 3 for our community effort for the Partners for Climate Protection program, and we also hope to gain the last milestone for our municipal corporate energy work. And basically, we will continue implementing our energy programs moving forward. So that's the end of my presentation. I hope that I've given you a good overview of what our Energize Bridgewater program is about, some of the benefits that we've seen from other communities, as well as some early ones that we've been able to measure from our own experience, and I hope to have left you with some inspiration that some of the initiatives that we've done here may be able to be replicated in other communities. So thank you for your time, and I'm now happy to take any questions or lead any discussion that maybe I'll turn things over to Christy for leading the next part.
Well, thank you very much, Leon. I really appreciate you sharing what's happening in Bridgewater, and I think that there are some valuable lessons and ideas that people can use going forward. Also, the sound quality improved considerably. The second half of the presentation, there were no issues whatsoever. So this session is being recorded, and we will be able to share your presentation online with going forward. So. Like Leon said, if anyone has any questions, please type them into the chat box, and we've got another 10 minutes or so available to answer questions if there are any. There aren't any coming through just yet, Leon. So with your reporting system on progress, is that something that's done through the municipal council at public meetings, or how are you keeping people informed going forward?
So I'll break that into two pieces. For our own energy management work, I produce monthly, or approximately every 2 months or so, I produce reports for our facilities managers and our senior managers, and that's not public information. That's for our own operations. But we do produce an annual publicly available report on our energy performance progress. As well, we produce an annual sustainability report. And moving forward, our work through our Energize Bridgewater initiative will be included in that annual reporting. So there's at least one kind of major report that comes out every year to show publicly what we've been doing. In addition to that, we do intend to keep our partner network and people associated with our Energize Bridgewater program. We intend to create a monitoring program just for that. So we would have local community members and businesses and organizations involved directly in keeping track of our community's progress toward a local energy economy. So there are some new reporting mechanisms that will come out as part of that.
Excellent. So we do have a question that came through asking, how crucial is the provincial national support to the plan?
That's a great question. In my experience, you tend to need some external resources if you're doing something quite ambitious. I think that what we've done is we've pitched to some of our funders, including the province of Nova Scotia and also the Federation of Canadian Municipalities, a pretty innovative idea. Some of the feedback that we've gotten from our funders is that this is a pretty unique initiative, both in terms of the depth of the energy work as well as in the community engagement piece. So I think that when you trailblaze and when you are willing to invest some significant effort into doing something new, I think it's important to have funders on board because you I think it does two things. I think it builds credibility for what you're doing, but I also think that it is difficult for municipalities, especially, to put that money on the table themselves for doing this kind of work. However, what we hope to do is that by creating, for example, our toolkit, by sharing our best practices with other communities and municipalities, we hope that some of the the research and development part of our work and the trailblazing work can be replicated more easily by others and can be done with more local resources. So that is our vision for where things will go. There is no question that I believe that other levels of government need to take the energy transition in local communities very seriously, because this is where, as you said, Christy, around 60% of Canada's energy is consumed, and that may require additional support, whether it's simply from a planning perspective or whether it's actually from an investment perspective. And I do have some high hope that especially the federal government will be taking that very seriously in its current mandate.
That's great. Thank you. And one last call for any other questions. Not seeing any coming through. Thank you very much, Leon, for spending the past hour with us and sharing what's happening in Bridgewater. And thank you, everyone, for joining today's Quest New Brunswick webinar. Have a great afternoon.
Great. Thank you, and thank you again to Christy for hosting us and Quest New Brunswick. We really appreciate the opportunity. My contact information is on this slide here, so please feel free to reach out if you have any questions about what we do. I'd be very happy to share more information. And thank you all for bearing with my my croaky voice, my disappearance halfway through, and also for the poor audio. I thank you for your patience and sticking with us. Happy holidays, and look forward to